I'm going to do that thing where, like when you're listening to a show and it's, they call it a cold open. So if there's no like official intro, that's just what I do right now. I hit record about 10 seconds ago. So we're hearing all this for the first time. Like sometimes when you listen to a Joe Rogan episode, you'll hear that dumb music.
Yeah.
And then they'll already be talking.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, so that's what we did. Hey, everyone. KARAC Hendriks, This Road Is Mine, with my son Cohen Hendriks across the table.
Yep.
Today we're going to be talking about, the album that we're going to be focusing on is called the Claypool-Lennon Delirium. He's holding up a picture or holding it up to the camera. For those of you watching on YouTube, this album, tell me why you bought this.
Yeah, this was really...
Were you high? Or maybe?
No. Nope.
Okay.
Surprisingly. Yeah, this was actually just... I had an Indigo gift card from Christmas, I think. And I got this like months ago. This would have been early 2020, I think.
Because I was thinking, I guess because it came out around this time 2 years ago.
Yeah, tomorrow we saw is its 2-year birthday.
Yeah.
So
it was already a year old by the time you bought it.
Yeah, and I'd never heard of them, but I recognized their names immediately. And I was like, okay, that's the artwork's cool, of course.
Yeah.
If you're just listening, I would look it up. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, the album's called, it's by the band called the Claypool-Lennon Delirium, which is Les Claypool and Sean Ono Lennon. The album's called South of Reality. It's their second album. Looks like they also did an EP of covers. So we're going to have
which is cool.
Yeah, we'll have the playlist, the Spotify playlist featuring some songs from this album, songs by... we're just basically going to focus on Les Claypool because I really could give a shit about Sean Lennon. No offense, buddy.
Which is, I think I'll respect that opinion because you're a huge Beatles fan.
Well, yeah, I mean, so the problem for me is Sean Lennon is probably really talented and, may have a lot to say. I probably haven't given him enough time, but... anything I have heard sounds like his dad made period Beatles. So
yeah,
I'm just like,
even
okay.
like some of like on this record. Well, yeah, I guess I'll just finishing why I bought this.
Yeah,
but basically, it's a podcast. So
well, yeah, we're gonna kill time.
Yeah, but basically, I was looking and I am trying not to get so many books because I have enough books to read.
That's true.
So I was like, okay, I guess I'll just get a vinyl then because I could use another vinyl. So I was looking through, and I was with 3 of my friends, or it might have just been two of my friends,
wasn't it? Yeah, I think Ethan.
Yeah, Ethan. And we were like looking at records and stuff, and we grabbed this, and we're like, this is like our moment to be old school. Like we've never heard of this album. We're just gonna buy it and listen to it. So. Yeah, we got it and came back and listened to it, and it was really, really cool.
Yeah, this is a good example. Like as soon as you bought it and you showed it to me, I'm like, turn around if you're going to show them.
Yeah, no, I was just going to show the back.
You're reading it, yeah.
Yeah, the back's cool.
For sure, yeah, the back is really cool. This is, when I looked at it and you had bought it, I thought, this is a perfect example of music discovery. This is how we used to have the discovery music back in the day. Or you'd go, like, hang at the record store and then they'd maybe be playing something over the speakers. Nowadays, everything is available everywhere all the time. So some of the mystery is gone, to quote your partial namesake, Rain Maida.
There you go.
The song Bring Back the Sun. But anyway, the artworks is straight out of Prague land.
Oh yeah. 2 songs aside.
Yeah, that's would that be I want to say, no, it's not a grasshopper. What's the term?
Cricket.
I think.
Yeah,
right,
because their last album had to do with crickets, and the second last song on the album is Cricket Chronicles Revisited. Part 1, Ask Your Doctor, and then part 2 of the song is Side Effects, but side effect is spelled P-S-Y-D-E.
Of course, yeah.
So yeah, and the inside of the record's cool. Of course, the artwork is awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I should give Sean a little more credit. Like I remember that album Into the Sun came out in the late '90s, and I remember like there was a single and it was cool. Like but I again was just not motivated enough to check him out. But of course, Les Claypool. So here's a guy, and you know Britney Spears catalog at all? Yeah, have we talked about it?
Not a whole lot.
Well, you're not
but I'm going to explore.
She has a song called "I'm Not a Girl, Not Yet a Woman." So for me, I feel like I'm not Gen X, not yet Gen Y. Like I'm kind of caught in this weird zone because I'm technically Gen X, but I'm a little bit more Gen Y, and I feel like for some reason I missed Primus. Like, I knew the song from the Beavis and Butthead soundtrack, the TV show Beavis and Butthead Experience, which I did add to the playlist because it was like really the only one I knew.
Yeah.
Even their hits, I really didn't know, which is kind of because they were just in this weird age zone for me. I think if I was maybe a stoner and a little bit older, I would have caught them. But
because I mean, I was looking at their discography too, that technically their first album came out in '89.
Yes.
But I thought Frizzle Fry was their first, which came out in '90, so you would have been 11.
I was alive, but yeah, I just
No, you would have been 11.
exactly. But I
when that
wouldn't
came out.
like they. I think because they didn't have quote unquote hits, and I had access to MTV when I was younger than that, and then at a certain point I didn't. So, I didn't catch all like the video wave, and I only had maybe one friend that would have been into them. Owen probably had some of their stuff, but other than that, like, they were just more off my radar. So I didn't come to them until video games. Here we go again. We had the. What was the one where I think
ATV Off-Road Fury?
Right. Yes.
PlayStation
on
2.
PS2.
Great
yeah.
game.
Yeah, it's a fun game, and what a great soundtrack on that game.
And the soundtrack to that has, it's cool because it has Primus, which is pretty progressive, pretty out there. Jerry was a race car driver, of course. Time signature wise isn't super complicated, but the bass lick is. I learned it actually. My fingers aren't built for bass strings to tap and stuff, but I could play it.
It just takes practice. Even some of my favorite and basically I think Derek Schrammel, who knows Ruben, who knows your buddy. They played together in the theater side, but even Derek, like one of my favorite bass players of all time, and lives just a few blocks away, by the way. But,
oh, really?
But he even says he acknowledges it's such a physical instrument, like to play it well. I mean,
totally.
If you don't want to play it well, then it doesn't matter. But like it's a physical instrument. You have to build up the strength, and it's and dexterity and all that.
Very thick.
Bass is the most important instrument in a band. I don't care.
I could agree with that.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
And also it had "Them Bones" by Alice in Chains, which is in
signature
in 7. And Spoon Man. Which is also not the whole song, but a lot of it is 7. Or if you count it as a bar, 3. The chorus is in 4, and then the verses are in 7. Which is super cool.
Great soundtrack on that one.
That was awesome.
And also I always loved NHL 2001, also on the PS2.
I don't even remember
because it's the one
that
that had having fun at other people's expenses. Sum 41 or whatever. Just a great soundtrack.
And I think soundtracks to games and movies are make the foundation of a lot of people's music taste. I mean, for me too. I was just because I'm turning 18 in 8 days, and I want to get a tattoo on my leg where my pocket is of bullet shells and seashells, because Bulls on Parade is like one of my favorite songs, and I heard it from Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock from the Wii, which is like I played that when I was like 7, and it's still one of my favorite songs.
Totally.
So
it's
cool.
Amazing, isn't it?
Cool how it works.
But as far as Primus, obviously Jerry and Wynonna's Big Brown Beaver is just so cool.
It's such a good song.
Oh yeah. So you've dug into Primus quite a bit, right?
Yeah, not as much as I'd like to. I listened to the Desaturating 7 when it came out, which was 2017. So I would have been in grade 9.
They've never really broke up. Are they still the same guys
and
all that?
Yeah, as far as I know, Larry Lalonde is the guitar player. Tim Alexander is the drummer, or Tim Herb Alexander, and then of course Les Claypool's vocals and bass. And Tim Alexander is an incredible drummer. Larry Lalonde's guitar playing is obviously very unique if you listen to Primus. Les Claypool, you can't say enough good things. No, Tim Alexander, my friend that's super into Primus, he has Pork Soda on vinyl.
Oh wow!
He showed it to me. Yeah, it's super sick.
Nice.
Considers Tim Alexander probably the most underrated drummer of all time, because on a technical basis, there's people far better than him. He's very good, but there's people that are a lot better than him. But his approach to chops are very different. So we added Over the Electric Grapevine from Tales from the Punch Bowl, and like that drum chop. I actually learned it a couple years ago, and it's just super unique stuff.
Yeah, well, Primus is such a weird band because it's lead bass.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that makes it worse or harder on the drummer and the guitar player.
Yeah.
But, it creates a different dynamic, that's for sure. And I don't know a lot about Les Claypool, but I would imagine, especially the fact that he covered Boris the Spider, that John Entwistle would have been a big influence on him.
Probably.
John was, his nickname was I want to say the Rock, but it wasn't the Rock.
Wasn't it? I thought it was
the Ox. Sorry.
Oh, the Ox. Yeah. Okay, yeah.
And because he was just like when Keith Moon's bass barely there, like he's drumming and he's amazing, but he's like not really drumming. So it's all on the bass player to lock that in, and Pete for that matter, Pete Townsend. But that sort of really trebly bass playing.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't think of anyone quite like Les Claypool other than John Entwistle. I'm sure there's others, and feel free to drop me a voice message through the link on the website, or shoot me a message on socials as well. Any listeners there, keep us in the loop on this, because
we love new music.
Yeah, for sure. And I do feel like I'm missing some stuff around this.
Yeah, and I mean it's their stuff's obviously depending on what mood you're in, it's easy or hard to listen to. I consider them one of my favorite bands still. I don't listen to them as much as I did years ago, but they're the band that, like we've talked about Pain of Salvation. They are my favorite band, Pain of Salvation, but their music touches me. That sounds really creepy, but it gets to me, so it's hard to listen to a lot. Whereas a band like Haken is probably my second favorite band, and Primus, I can throw their shit on and it's awesome, and I can listen to it. And not that there isn't meaning behind their songs. I mean, even the lyrics on some of these songs I was just reading to you are really cool. The song Like Fleas I really like. I've never even thought about Mother Earth like this, but basically it says, like, they say Mother Earth is dying. I don't quite see it that way, as she spits out massive hurricanes to wash us all away. So that lays out the foundation of the song, and I've never thought about Mother Earth in the way of we're destroying her, or maybe she's trying to get rid of us because we're destroying her.
There are some theories around that,
which is
we are a parasite that they're trying
really
to get rid
cool.
of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, it refers to us as parasitic man.
It's interesting. So it must. Maybe I read the same thing or whatever.
But
it's
I've never thought about the world that way.
Yeah, very interesting concept. Well, because in consciousness we think of ourselves as the center of everything, right? And that's why we can't understand how there could be other cultures or other civilizations or anything.
And like there's, I think, the thought that the universe itself is conscious. We're turning into a Joe Rogan podcast right now. The DMT elves and very deep stuff.
Well, for sure.
I'll pull out the record.
Like obviously the song titles I found very somewhat salacious and funny. I assume though that there are some deeper meanings to some of the lyrics.
Absolutely.
In
they're
Primus's stuff.
Super bizarre, and my girlfriend hates Primus.
Well, I kind of get it, because it's like it's not like easy listening. Like it's
not,
jarring,
no.
and it's and I would and his singing is kind of awkward, and
if you call it singing,
Well, it's funny you mentioned that, because I remember a few weeks ago I was trying to. Cohen's holding up the copy of the. Oh yeah, absolutely, just lift it up just a touch more.
Beautiful.
That's a beautiful piece of vinyl right there.
Yeah, and it's. If you look close at I don't know what is the center called where it's normally, it's not played.
Actually,
this
I
part.
Can't remember. Yeah, there's a name for that. Yeah,
it says A, and then when we watched it when it was spinning, I swear we weren't on drugs. Like I promise you,
I saw
it was just super cool.
You should. When it spins, it makes a little picture or something.
It just looks cool.
Well, I think it looks like how sometimes if you look at something that's spinning, and if it's spinning in the right way, it actually looks like it's turning the other way.
Yes. Yeah. Well, because if you look closely, the images are an eye that's ever so slightly closing and opening around the circle, and it looks like the moon cycles. I haven't learned about that since 6th grade, but waning and waxing and gibbous and whatever.
Amazing, eh?
Cool stuff.
Yeah, and you're so it is a double vinyl. I'm not sure if it necessitates a complete entire vinyl or a double vinyl from a length perspective, but I think that like a lot of great albums post vinyl era, so CD era, they just create and they decide when they want to stop by whatever it is. And in this one, I mean, they probably could have put it on 3 sides of vinyl and left the 4th one different, which is what Springsteen did on the last one.
Oh, really?
Letter to You. Yeah.
That's a good song, actually. I haven't checked out the album.
Yeah, I wrote it when I was No, it is a great record. It's a great example of how to age gracefully in rock and roll. But
also, I just noticed track 2 on side B is Boriska. So would that happen to
probably
be with
Boris the Spider?
Yeah.
Because that is a legendary bass player song too.
Yeah, I don't even remember that.
It's like really short. Yeah, it goes like creepy, crawly, creepy. Yeah, it's like It's
cool.
It was like he had like 2 songs and through the Who discography, and that was like one of them, the main ones anyway. I get a kick out of the fact that Les Claypool not only did the theme song for South Park. Basically my favorite TV show. I think. Or favorite
I agree.
ongoing TV show.
Yeah.
But also did the theme song to Robot Chicken.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's
Which,
cool.
if you think about it,
Makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. Another
awesome.
amazing show.
That's cool.
Yeah. So there's obviously a sardonic wit going on there. I noticed he was connected to Tom Waits as well. I don't know what he would have done with Tom Waits, but if Wikipedia is any,
well, there's lots of one-offs. I mean, of course, like one of my favorite guitar players is Buckethead.
Yeah, they was in with Buckethead.
Yeah, and like there's that that video of it's Les Claypool, Buckethead, Bernie Worrell, like such weird combinations and Brain. Just but so awesome. Like like Buckethead's super funky, and I mean he does everything.
He's a great player.
And then Les Claypool, of course, but these are guys that can do anything, but they're exceptionally good at everything. I think. Yeah. I'd also like to point out before I forget that on the album cover, you'll notice the cricket's holding a compass, and it actually is pointing south.
Oh, south of reality.
I noticed that when I was looking
at the title. Yeah, it's beautiful artwork. Did they say who did the artwork?
Yes, it's
inside?
I forget.
It's not one of them though, right? Sean or okay.
No, they did all the instruments. They did the production. Claypool engineered and mixed it. Okay. They wrote and played all the instruments, but it was mastered by someone else. And featuring drummer Paulo Baldi. That's on a couple songs.
Okay.
Where was the artist? It said photography is Jay Blakesberg. Cover artwork by Hisaki Yasuda.
Okay. Yeah. Speaking of another very, I presume, Japanese name, because we looked at, they had a 4-song EP, and the fourth song I looked like a Japanese name. The guy who wrote it.
I started learning a bit of Japanese, and I can pretty confidently say that's because Japanese is like, I don't know if anybody speaks Japanese fluently that's listening, but basically, it's he, sa, ki. So it's always like their kanji or letter would be a consonant followed by a vowel that makes the sound. So he, sa, ki, ya, su, da. So that's kind of how I identify Japanese, as opposed to other Asian languages.
That makes sense. Yeah.
What do I know?
Yeah. Probably a band like Primus is probably big in Japan.
Probably, yeah.
Japanese are very they hold American things in very high regard. Jazz, of course, metal, still, believe it or not.
Oh yeah.
Very, very, and a lot of things that they have given to us through culture and can sometimes go back. They're very good at preserving their legacy.
Yeah.
It's older cultures.
I was going to say Japanese has made its way into our culture.
Oh, for sure.
Heavily. I mean, with video games.
Vehicles. They slayed at, since the 90s. I mean, they were here in the 70s and 60s, probably even like Datsun and
Toyota,
then
of course Nintendo.
Yeah.
And they actually have been around since the 1800s. Fun fact. They started as a playing card company.
Oh wow.
And then they transferred to toys, which is more common knowledge, but still not a lot of people know that.
Yeah.
They have some really weird toys. And then they transitioned to video games at some point.
I also like, obviously, anime.
That's what I was. The main one though is anime. Yeah. My friends are heavily into anime. Which unfortunately,
so popular. Yeah.
It is. It's cool. It's very cool. Yeah. I have a list to watch. Unfortunately, I think people that watch anime get a bad rap as like, weebs and mysterious.
Hentai nonsense.
Hentai's banned in Australia.
Yeah.
I was telling you and Mom
about that. So was
news
apparently on Facebook, but yeah.
Oh really? News on. Oh yeah. Yes. Yeah.
Sorry, Australia.
Yeah, but.
And it's funny because if I recall, so here's the generational thing again. I think I would have been the first generation to have been introduced to Japanese animation because like Thundercats obviously was a big one, and I think others were like that. And now it and then through the 90s it ended up being, I guess, like Pokemon, Digimon.
Yeah, and
Dragon Ball.
Of course, which came out in like, was it 79 or 89?
Yeah, you were telling me. I think 89. Probably,
89.
But, yeah, still it's
And another fun fact, a book I want to get. It's actually based off a book called Journey to the West, which is actually a Chinese novel. So if anyone wants to look that up, I want to read it. But yeah, it's just cool how like, you know, Chinese influence, you know, Japanese anime. I assume it's Japanese anyways.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's like one of the biggest animes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, Pearl Harbor was a little sneaky.
It was, yeah.
To
South Park.
South Park reference again.
Clarify, the algorithm doesn't pick that up.
Yeah, unless anyone think I have an opinion on that, but
yeah.
I always like the South Park references, and that's nice that we're still in the theme. You'll note too the record label, and this is ATO Records, which is Dave Matthews Band.
No way.
Dave Matthews, that's his label.
Sweet.
Yeah.
I was looking at Prawn Song.
Well, yeah,
I don't know what that is. That's clever.
Classic. Yeah, can I take a look at
yeah,
that?
sure.
Yeah, I gotta see that. Yeah,
that's funny. Obviously it's a reference to Swan Song, but
and it looks like
the angel.
But so does the other one. This Chimera Music, which also has a Japanese-ish flavor to it.
Yeah.
So
like the Japanese swan, definitely.
So my hunch would be that Les Claypool and Sean Lennon, that's one of each of their little businesses or whatever, and then they're sharing the ownership of the masters, and then ATO Records is their distributor. So that's
there you go. Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. It is a cool record. We have put it on at least a couple sides out in the garage when we had the turntable going.
Definitely, yeah. For my birthday.
And I should I feel like I should probably go back to the Sean Lennon thing. So obviously in the history of rock and roll, like Sean Lennon is a very important part of the story, right? I mean, so the John Lennon thing is like, so he had basically like his mom abandoned him. I don't even know if he knew his dad or had a dad. Like, I don't know the story. I can't remember the story there, but I know that he had serious mommy issues.
Yeah, clearly.
But sadly, like he married his first wife, and then he had his first son, Julian.
Right, I forgot about
basically
Julian.
Abandoned him,
Yeah.
right? Like, or at least that's how Julian tells it, and I'm sure it is. Like, but then once Sean came along, he was in a much better place, mentally, and and he was in love with Yoko, and so Sean got like treated really well, right?
Does Julian do music? Or?
Yeah, so Julian actually, in '84 had an album called it was a song called "Too Late for Goodbyes."
Oh yeah,
really good. Definitely vocally sounds a little like his dad, but nothing like how much Sean sounds like his dad. So that which makes me wonder if it's an affect. But Julian also now has had a resurgence as a photographer. He's a well-known
cool
historic photographer. Like,
sweet.
Yeah. I haven't seen a lot of his work, but I've heard interviews with him about it.
That's cool.
I'm always curious about Julian. I have this weird thing with there's these people in the rock and roll folklore, these figures that tend to get overlooked. Now, I mean, Julian's not overlooked per se, right? Oh, there's the cat. There's Archer. For anyone that's watching here, oh boy,
that's okay.
that's fun. That makes it alive. Hey, buddy. I've always felt really bad for Julian. That sucks. Like growing up, and then I'm idolizing the Beatles, and the Imagine John Lennon movie came out around the time I was like 9, 10, whatever. So I was definitely getting into the Beatles at that age, and it just seemed like he had Julian just had a bad
that
situation.
Sucks.
And the fact that he wrote about it, he has a song called Mother on his first solo album, the Lennon Ono band or whatever, Classic Ono, which is just a heartbreaking song, right? Like, it's like, Mother, you had me, but I never had you. Like, that's the first line. I'm like, ugh, like, no wonder you're upset. Like, his grandma raised him. That's actually what he and Paul had in common was mommy issues. Yeah, because Paul's mom died when he was quite young.
Oh, okay.
So they were both like kind of young teens, and they each didn't have.
How did his mom die?
I'm not sure. I would think like a cancer or something. Probably. I don't actually remember.
Brits are too good for overdoses.
But yeah, for sure.
No, I'm just kidding.
But then, so people like Julian, I always think of, and then with Sean, like because Julian was raised by his mom over in England, right? And his mom's name is Julia, by the way. It's the song on the White Album, Julia. That's
cool.
For Julia, but. Once John met Yoko, I mean, we always like to joke about how Yoko wrote up the Beatles and all that. It's not true, but it's kind
of makes me think of Courtney Love.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I hate Courtney Love so much, but it's it's not her fault that her husband was a drug addict and killed himself.
Why don't you listen to the theories?
Well, of course, and Lori Morgan too. If we're going to go into the country world,
you don't even know who that is.
Yeah, she was married to a guy named Keith Whitley who died way too young.
Oh, I think
he was a severe alcoholic, but he was very talented, like a Merle Haggard kind of.
I think you and John talked about him. Yeah.
And if I ever find a Lori Morgan fan, I like to say, well, she killed Keith Whitley, but
Oh yeah,
which is totally not true and not fair. That's and not funny really either. But there are these figures that in these relationships with the music business. So Julian is definitely one of them. But the other one I often think of is Johnny Cash, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know his wife's name?
No, but I know he did the song "Hurt." Just kidding.
Yeah, yeah. I know
Before anybody,
he wrote that song for Nine Inch Nails. Yeah.
No, I'm just kidding.
But yeah, his first wife was named Vivian.
Okay.
And when he was like just a pill swallowing son of a gun, right?
Yeah.
He was like really strung out.
Before it was cool.
Well, yeah, he definitely made it cool, all right. And then and so she was stuck at home with like 4 or 5 kids, whatever, and they didn't even have a hope. And then he divorces her, and then remarries to June Carter, right? So now the Johnny and June become this like the first couple of country, and they were like clearly soulmates. Like she died 6 months later, he died. Like he couldn't live without her, right? It was a beautiful story, but I always think of Vivian like because his daughter is Roseanne Cash and Vivian is Roseanne's mom, right? And I always think like what was her story, and I found out she actually has a book.
Oh yeah,
and I'm so glad she does, and I will read it at some point. Because,
Vivian does.
Yeah, because I always wondered like, what's her story? Because like everyone always talks about Johnny and June, but he had a first wife, and he just ruined it. Like and she was like they were living in California, and he was like out touring and like hooked on drugs, and but he did clean up, and June helped him clean up. But I always felt bad for Roseanne's mom.
Yeah,
right?
that sucks.
Just seems really terrible. Yeah. But
I was gonna say, so are Julian and Sean half siblings then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So Julia Lennon was Julian's mom, and then Yoko Ono is Sean's. So just the 2 kids.
Do they get along, Sean and Julian?
So my understanding is that yes, but I think Julian really resented Sean because he got the love, right? And I don't think Julian had like big problems. Like I don't think he fell down the rabbit hole, but I think Julian had some connections with maybe like the Zeppelin kids, like probably KARAC Plant or Jason Bonham.
Yeah.
Right. I think they may. But I could be wrong on that. But I think I heard something around like that they were all sort of because they would have been similar ages.
Yeah.
And I mean, Paul had kids around that time too.
Yeah.
George may have Ringo. I don't know. But yeah. It definitely just as kind of a sad story, and he did come over to the U.S. and toured, and he may have even lived in New York as well too. I think he tried and maybe did reconnect with John, but near the end, like we really did lose John at a terrible time. Like he was.
When did he die again?
1980.
Oh,
yeah, and he was clean. He had been clean for a long time. He was just starting to make music again, and it was just a terrible situation. The human race can be just pretty brutal.
Yeah.
But so Julian, I don't know if he ever really reconciled enough. I don't think it ever really got there though. So I always felt bad.
That sucks.
Yeah, but
it'd be hard to live as a Beatles son, especially John's son.
Oh, absolutely, and that's why I should back off a little bit on Sean because he's probably. I mean, he must be really talented, and as much as his mom drives me nuts, I mean, Yoko is a really interesting person.
Yeah, to say the least. I mean, it's easy to make fun of someone like her.
Yeah.
But it's where's the line in art?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm getting into visual arts, and there's artists like Jackson Pollock, very abstract, might just look like pencil scribbles. Yeah. But where's the line, really?
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is it's there's something almost absurd about her, right? Like
very absurd, I would say.
But if you think about it, same with Les Claypool, right?
Absolutely.
The absurdity, like it's so wacky. So it's in a way like Sean could be a perfect foil for a guy like Les Claypool.
Yeah, that's true.
He's helped worked with his mom a lot. They've continued to look after the John Lennon legacy. He had a lot of artwork, his likeness, like the trademarking of all that stuff. And
yeah, when you put it like that, it makes sense. Their connection, at least.
Yeah.
And I did want to point out too that, like, the album kicks off, and Blood and Rockets was the hit, and I can see why. It's a really catchy tune. The lyrics are very weird, very cool though, but it sounds just like the Beatles to me.
It yeah.
Do you remember that one? I think
you played that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like he sounds like John. It's the vocals are mastered like John.
Yeah, it's the double track vocal.
Yeah, and it's good. The I could totally see them, on stage, black and white, the Beatles going.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I think the Beatles, you know, they have such a big impact when I haven't listened to a Beatles album probably since you and I went through them when I was like 5.
Yeah, in mono, the way they're supposed to be heard. But yes,
and even though I can still hear them in music everywhere, I can say that just sounds like the Beatles. It just does.
Mm-hmm. They are the Beethoven of the 20th century, right? Like
I could totally.
Their influence is quote unquote incalculable.
Well, yeah, and I was just going back to Mac Miller's album that came out 2019 late or early 2020, I think it was. Killer album, Circles, and I was telling you about how it ends in a circle.
Yeah,
with
we
that
were talking
chord
about that last week.
Very cool.
Yeah.
But you know, anybody that dismisses him because he was in hip hop is ignorant.
They're missing the point.
You're missing out on a load of killer music and somebody that touched a lot of people. Not in the bad way.
No, here we go again.
But even in the song Surf, which was one of my favorites, I was like, oh, that just sounds like a Beatles song to me.
Yeah.
You know, I could totally hear his Beatles influence.
Well, the Beatles eras, too, are very easy to pick up, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when in the mid-'90s, when they did the anthology series, Scraping, like, you know, they were finding, like, doing the unreleased thing and resurfacing. They split them into 3 periods. So in the early 70s, after they broke up, there was do you remember the Blue Album and the Red Album? Red Album was 62 to 66.
I forgot about that.
67 to 70.
Right.
So you can somewhat use that, but the better gauge is 62 to 65, 65 to 67, and then 67 to 70. Like so, with overlap. Obviously, you can't really cut it off specifically, but the sound that you're hearing on this one is what you would call mid-period Beatles. So. Okay. You're talking.
It sounds like a university course, like Beatles theory.
Totally is. There probably is a course.
There probably will
be if there isn't.
You know, if they study classical Beethoven and stuff.
Well, they're the best study in everything, like everything. The use of studios as an art in itself, getting your 10,000 hours in before you get recorded and popular.
Yeah,
they could all that Hamburg stuff.
Yeah,
making sure your lineup is appropriate. They got rid of Pete Best, got Ringo in.
Right.
You know, like the whole thing. They had management issues. They had ego issues. John really was the Beatles. Like I hate to say it because Paul's my fave, but I'm I guess I feel like I'm probably am more like George, but I love Paul. But Paul didn't even really come into his own until, he had moments like obviously Yesterday and in Lady Madonna as he went through. But John really was the focus of the Beatles.
I mean, as a songwriter, from what I can see, he's amazing.
They both are, but they all actually I shouldn't say it. Even George was a great songwriter too. It just took him a while to come out of there to break between the two, but. The Lennon-McCartney songwriting arrangement, so you can study that too, because they always shared every song 50-50, even though they didn't necessarily write them 50-50, which has caused some problems. Like there were songs that were clearly Paul's, songs that were clearly John's, but they became, and they always had to be credited as Lennon-McCartney. They were never allowed to go. But Yoko actually sued John one time because he
sued John.
No, sorry,
I was
sued
say,
Paul because
I wouldn't put it past
on a live
her,
album he put. There's something song written by Paul McCartney and John Lennon.
Oh, not Lennon and McCartney.
He didn't go Lennon McCartney. Yeah,
and it's not and McCartney. It's just Lennon
/McCartney.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, very. So again, there you could do a whole.
Did she win?
Chapter. I shouldn't say sued, but I know there was problems because he had that album back in the U.S. or whatever. It was a live album. And
cool.
Yeah, that caused a lot of problems anyway. But
that's cool.
And I do think they had actually a written agreement for stuff like that. So
I wonder why he did that then.
Well, it's to protect the legacy of the Beatles, right? Why did he do that? Because it was a song that he wrote, but all of their songs were Lennon McCartney, right? So right. So they shouldn't have done that. They should have went, if you write it, you get the credit, or if we write it together, we'll split it. But
definitely,
they made their arrangements so that all of their songs, either of them wrote in the Beatles, was split 50-50. So and I think Paul, is Paul frickin' McCartney, but he's got a big ego, right? So he wants to be known. I think he wants to be out of John's shadow at times, and he'll always be in John's shadow.
Yeah,
always was and always will be. Even though he's obviously lived, twice as long now, and has made great solo music, arguably better than John's. John had
Yeah.
the first couple records were like landmark, like Imagine, and of course like the first Lennon Ono was amazing. But
And Band on the Run, the song is like, I think to me that's a classic rock song that I can always go back to. It's such a beautiful song.
Multiple parts.
Yeah, the lyrics are cool. Yeah, was that Denny Lane?
Yeah,
the slide. Yeah, I love that slide in that song.
The acoustic 12-string.
The melody is beautiful. The lyrics are cool. I don't know if they have any significant meaning, but they're cool.
No, I think there was a. See, Paul also had that weird thing where he liked to be in a band. Like it was Paul McCartney and Wings for a long time. He did the occasional solo record, he did a couple, I think, with Paul and Linda McCartney. But and then for a while it was just Wings. The band was called Wings. There was no Paul McCartney on the name, but he was obviously leading it. But so there's definitely a weird psychology around that. Like, and then he finally broke up Wings in '78 or whatever it was, '79.
I saw a funny meme actually that I saved when I was looking through my old photos, and it said, Paul McCartney gave you wings before Red Bull.
Yeah. Nice.
But of course Red Bull got sued for.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which is hilarious.
Well, and then of course Aerosmith had the album called Get Your
Wings, yeah.
Which I did on my arm.
Yes, you did get your wings.
But yeah, it's the Beatles' legacy is it is a full case study for sure of do's and don'ts, their management situation, like when Brian Epstein died, their manager, who was gay by the way too, and he was in the closet for and then he died. Then they got oh crap, I'm drawing a blank, man. And he ended up being terrible, right? Like, and then of course they started Apple Records too, and signed a lot of great artists, but they couldn't, by the early and then mid '70s. Yeah, they just couldn't keep it together from a business perspective.
So cool that did they even last 10 years on the scene?
The Beatles?
Yeah.
Well, so the argument is that it was technically 7 years, right? Like if you go 63 to 70 or whatever, 62 to 70, give or take. But they were a band in the early or the late 50s, right? They were, they went under a different name. Like they were with Billy Sheridan, and there's a lot of all that stuff's available. You can hear that through the archives or whatever. But, when they came on the scene, quote unquote, they were just really just like any other sort of rock and roll band, early rock and roll band.
Yeah.
Covering American music and but being in England, and they got picked up on a couple different small labels in Canada and the US originally, but they didn't really take off. But and Capitol had the rights to release them, and they refused. They were just like, yeah, it's just another band. And then they just when they hit at the Ed Sullivan show, that was the thing that if you ask anyone, it's either the first time I saw Elvis on Ed Sullivan or the first time I saw the Beatles on Ed Sullivan. And even my Dennis, like he remembers seeing them too. Really? They were all around table, and he says, cool. Grandpa Bob said, "This guy's need a haircut."
Oh, really?
That's what he said. Yeah, but he's
Grandpa
good
Bob?
Harmonies. No, Tom. That's his dad, Tom.
Oh, okay, that's funny.
Yeah. He's like, they need a haircut, but they
of course they did.
But they did, and that was
their hair wasn't cool. That long. Was it?
Well,
I have a picture of them in my head. I don't think it was that long.
Well, people from the Greatest Generation would disagree with you,
yeah,
right?
it is.
So
I'm sorry.
He was a World War II vet, and that's just that mentality, and they. Their parents that were quote unquote strict definitely had a hard time accepting these quote unquote rock and roll rebels because they were anti-establishment, and these people came from war. They saw things and they wanted to keep some rhyme and reason in their children's lives and wanted what's best for them, which I guess at times included smacking them on the ass and telling them to cut their hair. But
I mean, don't dye your hair, don't grow it out, don't get piercings.
Well, I mean, every generation's just gotten further and further away from that, which is great, of course. But then there is also some loss of morality that we're losing every generation. So maybe there is a correlation. I don't know, but I'm not saying we should go back to the Dark Ages, but there is something to be said for community and having some sort of religion other than the dollar, but that's getting pretty deep too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure Les Claypool has some songs about that.
Oh yeah. Well, the one of the songs I wanted to add to the playlist was "Welcome to This World," which you can assume.
I think maybe we did, but no, we didn't.
No.
What album is that on?
Pork Soda.
Okay.
Killer album.
To This World. Okay.
I love the lyrics on that album.
Nice.
Bob.
Yeah.
Very dark song. DMV is just funny.
Is that Department of Motor Vehicles, I presume?
I went to hell, I call it DMV. Anyone who's been there knows precisely what I mean.
Yeah. You always hear those horror stories of going to the DMV in the U.S. It's definitely a thing. Like, well, you've been in line at our equivalent of a DMV.
Yeah, well, and when
your learners or whatever.
Yeah, and when I paid my speeding ticket,
sure,
there was some a-hole on his phone and
yes,
in a business suit.
Yeah,
whatever.
There's always one of those. Yeah, we went there. Your mom and I went to renew our licenses right after COVID started or whatever, and just some jerk comes in, like giving the staff crap for not having more staff on. You're so important.
Yeah.
Just get in line like the rest of us, you idiot.
Well, and like there's that scene in I think it's Breaking Bad. Do you remember that where I don't know if it was the DMV actually. It might have just been something like that though, and the guy comes in and he's got his fucking Bluetooth thing in and he's talking, being all obnoxious, and I'm pretty sure it was Breaking Bad, and basically he's being all obnoxious and he just does not like this guy. Yeah, and I think that's the guy that he like, because of course Walter, I mean spoiler alert, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, he lights the car on fire with the.
I remember that now.
But there's that guy with the really fancy car.
The red car he pulls up. Yeah.
But there's the guy at the DMV or gas station or whatever.
Oh yeah, because he lifts the thing and puts that thing on his battery, so it.
Yes, that's it. And and then he like comes out all happy. He's so awesome. Then what's going on?
And car's just on fire.
Yeah. Oh, I love that scene. So great. Just the pinnacle of.
Well, those are the situations where you just in your mind you're like, oh, I'd love to do that.
I know. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we've let's try and keep this a little bit shorter, but I think this one we can do that. It's just been over 40 minutes now. So
not bad.
Yeah, but it's nice to be able to rally around an album like this because, and I knew it would be easy to talk around it too. Obviously, this is, I presume it's going to be a going concern. This group, the Claypool-Lennon and Delirium, because 2 albums now. Looks like over the last few years, and an EP, some singles. So
and Primus is kind of. I've lost interest a little bit. I love the old stuff. Yeah. But I don't know.
Well, I have my theories, and I think they're true. And
totally,
any band has 7 years, right?
Yeah. And when you say that, and on top of that, when I think you talked about it last time, or the Pain of Salvation one about when you're 15. Yeah. And I was 14 when I got into Primus.
There you go. Yeah.
And carried on until now.
Yeah.
So for me, that age was 14.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and it's never 100%
but
one year or another, but like there's a bit of an arc around the age
14
of 15.
to 16.
Yeah, it's
I think.
just So maybe your listening homework will be listen to the song called 15 by Taylor Swift. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm more
it's
open
not terrible.
to. No. I mean, my friend Ty loves Taylor Swift.
Well, she's super talented. Like, and a little bit, I don't know, a little bit vacuous at times for me, but very. And even this new mature like folklore, everyone's like all into because she's working with like I don't know, Bon Iver or whatever, Bon Iver, or like all that.
Sure.
I think it's all good, right? Like, but I'm still not super drawn to it, but I can definitely appreciate it, and I know that people of a certain age when they listened to her at around the age of 15, and she was singing a song called 15. It all kind of made sense, and I think there's.
I remember that song now.
An age group of predominantly girls that have like grown up with her too, so they've grown as she's grown, and her writing continues to speak from a place that they're probably all like if you're a multimillionaire and you have 3 houses and you've been dated John Mayer, I mean you're gonna have things in common with other girls from.
Did she date John Mayer?
Oh yeah.
Oh nice.
Yeah, there's a song called Half of My Heart. It's on his album Battle Studies. It was a duet. It's not good, but it was. That's now that's the Mayer rabbit hole, right? So you want to talk like super ego, right? Like
I mean,
like he dates like women, like he headhunts the most popular beautiful women or whatever. I actually don't think Taylor's most beautiful. But like he goes for he wants the notoriety of like the most popular girl.
Well,
like
I mean, I guess one last thing to discuss. I just watched, as you know, I watched the show You Again. Yeah. And I'm going to read the book when I'm done reading my books I have already. Yeah. But I'll probably buy it just for when I'm ready. Yeah. But yeah, I watched it because the second season lost me initially, but I rewatched it and paid very close attention. And one thing I thought was, he looks like John Mayer.
Oh yeah.
And then somebody actually says that in the show.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
it was at, I think it was the party with Peach Salinger or something, and or no, it might have been when he goes to L.A. Spoiler alert again. Yeah, and somebody's like, basically they're just like, "Hey, John Mayer," is like a joke, and I was like, "Oh, so other people think that? Yeah, that's funny."
Well, and I mean, John is like, he's one of these guys that it's the narcissism, right? But he's aware of it too. Like he's interesting. Like if you read interviews with him, or if you hear him interviewed, like he's aware. It doesn't mean that he's necessarily changed, but I do think that might account for why he jumped into the Grateful Dead thing. Like it's almost like this existential thing. Yeah, like again, super talented, great acoustic player, good electric player. Good singer, I guess. I don't like his voice, but good songwriter. Definitely in the way that Sheryl Crow is like kind of in that classic rock ilk. Like there's a definitive line that you can draw from all of the great bands of the 70s and then through into the 90s and the 2000s. It's all those people that have carried that torch, and he's definitely one of them. But that very large ego that needs to be fed.
Yeah,
pretty scary. But
yeah, also.
But I get it. It makes for some great art.
It does,
and I would include guys like Paul McCartney and. But then we have guys like Les Claypool to keep us all in check too.
Awesome.
They could play circles around us as musicians, and they're providing like sardonic lyrics that make us think about things and make us laugh at things.
Yep. Totally. Winona's Big Brown Beaver.
Hey-oh, yeah.
There was a while where people speculated it was about Winona Ryder, and then he claimed it's not. He said it's not.
Yeah, well,
so
but she was
I don't know if that's
a
true,
Hollywood. Yeah, it
probably is.
They would have at least used her name because it spelled her like how she spells her name.
And
too,
is that where
it's not even her real name, by the way? But yeah, that's like the only other Winona at the time was Winona Judd, the country singer.
Okay.
Who can sing circles around anyone. She's so good. But it's with a W-Y, Nona or whatever. So yeah.
I mean, I don't know much about Winona Ryder, but maybe there is some subtle references to her life.
Yeah, there was she was a Hollywood it girl at that time, so that would make sense. Like she and Johnny Depp were dated, and back in the early '90s, and so she's that could very well make sense. But sometimes it's just fun to take somebody's name and now we're still talking about it, even though we don't know if it was or not, and it doesn't matter. But it's fun.
Kick-ass song.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's good road trip stuff. That one and Race Car Driver. It's I love that
bass line.
Is it double kick too, or is it just the bass that's doing that that really clicky thing? Does the drummer do that? I wonder too.
He does double kick for sure.
Yeah, because it feels like he would be doing that with the bass, but
he keeps it pretty tight actually. At the end he does that. On the kick. Killer drummer.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to watch something cool. Watch the MTV Haunted House.
Okay.
I think it was from 1990.
Okay.
It was Primus, White Zombie, and one other band. I don't even remember who. I don't remember if they were popular or not, but pretty sure Primus was kind of the odd one out.
Yeah.
But
I think
awesome.
Primus was somewhat popular on MTV, right?
Definitely,
like, I think
especially if you think about Beavis and Butthead.
Well, yeah, for sure, and that
and South Park.
Yeah, I don't. I kind of missed that because MTV was an American thing anyway, and we had much music up here, but because I had the American dish. Most of my exposure was the American through the late '80s, and then into the '90s. I guess I had some of it back again, but there were people like if you think. When you get home from school or whatever you're doing and you like pull up your YouTube and you catch up with the latest things you're subscribing to. Well, when MTV came along, that was what everyone got home from school. They all turned on that same channel and they all watched the videos and the shows like Total Request Live and like it was a way of life. It was a way, and that like what Bob Lefsetz calls the monoculture. Like we had one channel or one,
right,
and that was so everyone was getting fed the same thing. We don't have that now. Everything's so fragmented.
Yeah. Which is kind of a good thing.
Well, it is in a way, for sure. I mean, you and it helps you find your tribe, albeit a little bit smaller. You and your friends will have subscriptions to different YouTube channels.
Yep.
Some of them will be the same, but a lot of them will be different too, right? And I think that's amazing.
Totally. Yeah.
But there is nothing like, hey, did you hear that Joe Rogan episode about so and so? Then you get that communal feeling of sharing and a shared experience, even if you didn't share it at exactly the same time, like a concert you do. But
that's true. Yeah.
Yeah, it's No, it's amazing stuff. Okay, we hit 50 minutes now, so
All right.
blew it again. All right, KARAC Hendricks,
good.
This Road Is Mine. Check out the Claypool-Lennon Delirium. I keep wanting to say Lennon Claypool Delirium.
Me too. I think it sounds nicer, but
I wonder, well, I guess maybe because it would be more obvious. I wonder why they went Claypool. Well, it's alphabetic too, CL, but Claypool-Lennon Delirium.
well, Lennon rolls off. Sorry, I didn't say that in my clearly, but Lennon rolls off the tongue nicer, I think. Claypool.
Lennon.
Lennon's just 2 syllables.
Lennon Delirium. Yeah, Lennon Delirium. Okay, well, anyway, there will be samples, obviously, if you're listening on Spotify, you're going to have the song samples that have already been interjected into this. Otherwise, hit the playlist. And, of course, share, like, subscribe, all that nonsense. And thanks for listening. Feel free to drop me a message on socials or even in the comments. Let us know what you want us to talk about. We're rolling through the vinyl. This year's going to be vinyl. I'm thinking maybe next year. Well, you might not be around. You might be very busy. Cohen's going to second post-sec here next year. But I was thinking of hitting the cassette era to maybe working my way through the cassettes.
I forgot I used to get cassettes, actually.
Well,
not to continue this, but
fun,
I gave my buddy, who I bought this with, I gave him my Nevermind by Nirvana cassette, but I cut off the kid's wiener when I gave it to him.
How dare you?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I still put it in, but I cut off his wiener. And
that guy,
did you see the interview?
No, but I think did you tell me about it? Yeah, or did you see him interviewed? Is that
yep, there's like a very famous
can you imagine
clip.
being that guy?
No.
Like same with B-Girl, right? From
of
the
course,
Watermelon video.
yeah,
Like you're just these iconic people. Oh,
so funny.
Yeah, it's what a see again. That was like only the '90s could give you that, right?
Yeah,
we were just right at the end of the excess, and then it's so funny how the Napster thing for music changed everything, like file sharing and into the 2000s, and then it just started dropping off right there.
Yeah.
So I mean, we still have iconic things, but it's not shared by as many people all the time as it used to be. So it used to be you'd walk into a shopping like a Safeway, and they'd be selling CDs there too, and
well, it's so weird what people listen to in stores. Well, I was just applying for jobs, actually. Again, we're continuing,
that's okay,
the bonus episode, but no.
Yeah.
I handed in a resume at Pet Value because I'll be able to work in pet stores when I'm 18 because that's illegal if you're not 18. But anyways,
might be a store policy, but I don't know.
No, it's pet stores.
It's
It's pet stores. Yeah, it's very bizarre. I don't know much about it, but yeah. It is a thing. So, anyways, I walk in and the radio's playing, and it was Free Will by Rush. And I'm like, I can't not air drum to this, with my resume. I'm like, this is badass.
I wonder if
it's very weird.
Was it like a local radio? I mean, if it could have been like K97 or something. Like we have a classic rock station that plays a lot of that stuff. But
I don't know. But
it's always curious why you're hearing what you're hearing.
Yeah, I know. I was like, why is this in a pet store? And teenage girls are working. Yeah. They didn't pick this. I can assure you that.
It's a sausage fest. If you're listening to Rush,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Oh, man. Okay. All right. Peace.